A boss mom doesn't allow society to tell her that her goals no longer matter. She handles her business both inside and outside of the home. Welcome to the Boss Mom Movement Podcast with me, your host, Ashley White, where you'll hear me speak with millennial moms who have not allowed the title mom to stop them from achieving their goals. During this podcast series, we'll discuss how we balance it all and other mom-related topics. It's a space for all my bossy mamas, whether you're an entrepreneur, mama in corporate, or both. Being a boss mom isn't easy, but it's our lifestyle. So with that being said, all right, boss moms, let the movement begin. Hey, Boss Moms, welcome back for another episode of the Boss Mom Movement Podcast with your host, Ashley White. You are actually here for a special edition. This is episode 11 on how to split your paychecks with the rich Black mom. Again, welcome back, Somi.
Yes.
I am excited to be back and talk with you about budgeting and debt and really just honing in on how to responsibly split those paychecks and not be like me, I'm not going to say not be like me, because if you're splitting your paychecks with purpose, right, they kind of already spent when you get them because they are going in allocated areas. So we want to know how we can do that responsibly, no matter how small or big your paycheck may be. So before we get started, though, I do want to go ahead and introduce you to the audience for those that maybe missed the first episode that you were on. So if you want to take a moment to introduce yourself.
Yes. And if you missed the first episode, you need to go back and watch that episode just to put that out there. But yes, y'all, I am Somi, aka the rich Black mom. I am a mom to two rich best friends. I transitioned from calling them broke because I believe in speaking positivity into the atmosphere. And so my kids ain't gonna be broke, they gonna be rich, okay? And those are my rich best friends. And I created my brand as a way to debunk the myth and stereotypes of Black moms, specifically single Black moms. And within the last, honestly, I'll say 18 months, I went from being like the person in my sister circle, being the broke single mom, to like all of my friends in my sister circle and be like, "Ooh, girl, I'm trying to get rich like you. Ooh, girl, I see," like just the way I've leveled up over the last couple of months.
Level up
has really, has been really inspiring. And so I created my brand as an opportunity to show that. Because there's a lot of stigmatism and low self-esteem that goes on, especially being a single mom. And I wanted to showcase that single Black moms specifically, can live a luxurious and wealthy life and then also leave a legacy for their kids. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about me. And I love all things money. I'm so excited to be back again and talk about how we can be better managers of our money, specifically in our paychecks.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you for coming back and doing this special edition episode. So let's talk about splitting paycheck. So I know, like, oftentimes people say like, "Oh, I don't have enough on the paycheck to really, allocate to different things." Like maybe they're just living check to check, right? Or all their money goes to bills and all of that great stuff. Because we need the bills, even though we hate them, we need them because it's like our livelihood. I want to talk about how you split them in different ways, maybe different accounts or anything like that you can, bring into your budget lifestyle. So if you want to shed some light on maybe some things that you do that could help other people.
Yeah. So I think it all starts with a budget, right? So being able to determine, like, y'all got to sit down and look at those numbers and figure out how much you are spending so that you can really create a plan. And then once you create that plan, because if you don't have the budget, then the next step that I'm going to talk about doesn't matter. So you need to create that budget, figure out where your money is, where it's going, and then create a money map is what I like to call it. And a money map just tells your money where to go when you get it. And so if you don't have a payday routine, you need to get one every single payday. And let me tell y'all, Your payday routine should not be when I get my paycheck, I spend it. That is not the payday routine that we are doing, okay?
Sounds like mine.
I know. It was mine too. I'll be good to you in a minute, right? Or, you know, a lot of us, our paycheck is spent before it even hits the bank account because we're
mine too.
Credit card hacking.
Yes.
And we're ineffectively credit card hacking, right? So ineffective credit card hacking looks like I swipe my credit card for everything, and then when I get paid, I pay off the balance. When the appropriate way to do it is to actually spend what you actually have in your bank account at that time. So if I only have $5 in my debit card, I should only be spending $5 on my credit card, not waiting until my paycheck, because now it's really just debt. Like that's really what it is you now owe this money instead of just spending it. So if you're credit card hacking, you can say, okay, today I spent $50. At the end of the day, you go and transfer that money straight to your credit card, and it's already spent like you spent it on your debit card. A lot of people credit card hack to get the rewards that come with that. If you have a rewards credit card, it's really cool. But I will say it doesn't work unless you are responsible. So I'll speak from example. Last year, February, I paid off all my credit cards. And I left them alone, didn't use any money off of them, suffered through postpartum depression. And with that came emotional spending. So I started swiping my credit card again, and I called myself credit card hacking, but I lost control of my credit card hacking and was spending more than I actually had. So now I was in credit card debt all over again. And now I'm trying to get out. So that's why I say only spend what you actually have in your bank account, not what you project is going to have what you're going to project you have when you get your paycheck. But so bringing it back, so a money map, right? So I have 4 bank accounts. I recommend minimum that you have 4. You might have 5 if you have a business, which actually I do need to get a 5th one because I actually do need to get a business account. But if you don't, minimum 4. So my first one is my luxury account, I like to call it. And that's where I am spending all things that I love and makes me happy. That's where my direct deposit goes. So when I get my paycheck, it goes directly into that bank account. And that's the only account that I have a debit card for. Because I want to make sure that I'm only spending the money that I've allocated to be spent. And it is at a brick and mortar type of bank, meaning a bank that I can go into and talk to the tellers and stuff like that, or I can go to the ATM. And it's a checking account. And so the money in there, I know if I spend all my money before I get my next paycheck, hey, that's just what it is. It forces me to be like, ooh, girl, child.
Right.
You better stop spending.
You don't need it.
Exactly.
You ain't got it.
You ain't got it. You know, you ain't got it. So you got to leave it alone. I'm trying to stay away from my ratchet days where I used to spend my bill money. So I don't do that anymore. And so that prevents that from happening for me because my bills money, which I'll go into next, is in a separate account, in a separate bank. I use Capital One. I love Capital One because they gave me a chance when nobody else would. So I'm loyal and I ride or die for Capital. You know what I'm saying? So my luxuries with Capital One. I then have a bills account with a credit union. If you don't have a credit union, I highly suggest everyone get a credit union because they have lower interest rates and fees for things. And so like if you're trying to get a mortgage, get a car loan, credit cards, all those things. So I recommend that. And that's my bills account. With my bills account, y'all, no debit card attached. Let me tell you why. Because if you have a debit card, you're going to swipe that card. There's just something about plastic that we're just like, oh, we're just swiping.
It's quick.
So it's quick. Yep. You don't even think about
it. But
I
will say, I don't carry cash. And I feel like because that is a quick way too, because it's there, right? And you can see it and it's like, okay, let me just use this cash or whatever. For me, anyway, personally, when I look at my card, it makes me think because it's like, okay, let me go check my account.
Oh,
and then, it's like, okay, maybe you don't need to make this purchase. But with cash, I'm like, okay, it's in there. Obviously, I have it. let me give it to you,
Let me
right?
give it to you. Yeah.
So that's just me, but
Yeah.
everybody's different.
Everybody's different. Yeah. I personally don't carry cash because I lose it. For some reason, every time I carry cash,
I ain't
it's
losing no money
gone.
now.
Maybe I don't know what, like $100. I'm just like, where did I put that money? Like, where did it go?
You spent it. No,
That's probably exactly what happened. Also, I'm a big tracker, and I just feel like with cash, it's harder to track. So
it is.
with the bank account, I can pull up my bank statements and see, okay, this is where my money has gone. Like, and I know where it is because I literally track every dollar. I'm obsessed with tracking my money. So bills account, credit union, and that money in there is all the bills on there on auto pay. And y'all, when you can get to a place where your bills are on auto pay, that is a great feeling because you literally are not worried. Transparency. I came from a place where I was wondering if my lights were going to get shut off. Right. And so now that I no longer live in that phase of my life, like money's just sitting in there and I don't even, it's like, oh, okay, my bills were paid. Oh, that's awesome. And they're paid on time. Oh, wow.
Right.
I will say you want to make sure to check because there's some bills that vary every month. Like, for example, your light bill. I know one month, like my internet bill was hella high. I was like, oh, y'all got me fucked up.
You're
so
right.
I called, you know what I'm saying?
Because they'll hit you now. Them internet put like, what? That wasn't there last month.
Exactly. So you want to make sure that you're checking. So auto pay does not mean neglect. That's not what it means. It just means that you're making sure your bills are paid. So that's that account. I use, like I said, a credit union. You can have another brick and mortar, but like I said, I highly suggest a credit union for at least one account. Then I have my emergency fund. My emergency fund is a separate account. It's in an online bank. And the reason why I use online is because I really had a hard issue with saving. And so if my checking account was attached to my savings account, no money was being saved. And I know that I'm speaking to a lot of people because that happens, right? It's an easy transfer because it's attached, right? But if it's a bank that actually I can't ever go to, like, how am I going to get the money? And it's accessible to me, but it actually takes time. And the reason why I like that is because it helps me to think about, is this really an emergency, right? Because if it's really an emergency, it's not going to actually need to be paid right then and there. There's nothing that's going to happen in my life right now that I'm like, I need the money right now. Like, even if, for example, like I didn't have the money to pay my rent and they were going to evict me. They're not going to evict me today. It's a process. So it takes 2-3 days for the money to come into my account. That's fine. Or I can Zelle it or whatever, have it. That money sits in a high yield savings account. And what that means is that it earns a higher interest rate than the normal savings account at a regular bank. And so I recommend that so that you can build a little bit of interest. You don't want to put it in an investment account because investments, they take time. Like, I remember I cashed out on an investment a long time ago and it took like 10 days. I'm like, I've been dead by then.
Look, and those taxes too.
Exactly.
They're gonna tax you.
Exactly. So you want to put it
for your account. I'm sorry to cut off, but I know. Okay, so you got your brick and mortar, probably like your big bank. Capital One is pretty big bank. Your credit union, and then for this savings account, this emergency account that you have, what are some good, or maybe you could share who you bank with for like online banking? Because I don't even think I can recall an online banking that's just strictly online. Not off the tip of my tongue.
So anyway. I use Live Oak for my emergency. Another popular one is Ally, which I use for my sinking fund. There's another one. Hold on, what is it called? I can't think of it right now. I can't think of the name of it, and I used to have it. I just can't. It's slipping my mind right now. But if you go on Google, type in online only banks. Honestly, like, there's not, oh, this is a better one than another one. Just open the account. The fees they really don't have a lot of the fees that other banks have just because they're online, so they're not paying for like I'll say lights and stuff like that because they're online, right? They don't have to function as a brick and mortar. And the interest rate, and you want to do a high yield savings account just to earn a little bit of interest, make your money grow a little bit, right? If you're going to save some in there, make it grow a little bit. It's not going to be something crazy. It's not going to turn into millions, but hey, it's something, a little bit that you can get off of that. And then I have Ally. Also for the emergency fund, I give this advice to everyone. Make a list of what is considered an emergency so that you can only go into that account when there's an actual emergency. And so for me, my emergency is like, if I can't pay my rent, that's an emergency.
Getting stuck on the side of the road.
Exactly. Yeah. But even still, that is not an emergency for me because I have a sinking fund for car. So that's actually separate because you
planned for it.
I planned for
essentially
for a mishap in my car or plan for a flat tire. Like those kinds of things I already planned for in my budget. So that's not an emergency for me. So emergency for me really, like I said, is like if I lost my job and I needed to live off of my savings, that's what's considered an emergency. In your emergency fund, you want to have a minimum of 3 months. My goal is to get to 6 months. Some people do 12. It just depends. And you want to put in there your essential bills. Okay. So don't include in there like, oh, I want to make sure I got money for shopping, or I want to make sure I got money for Starbucks. No,
that's a bill. No, I'm just kidding.
That's not important.
Look, the amount I spend is a bill. Yeah, it is.
Exactly.
But no, being responsible, your livelihood.
Being responsible. Absolutely. So you want to think about your 4 walls. You want to think about food. Okay. You want to make sure that's in there. Shelter, utilities, and transportation. But like I said, everyone's situation is different. So for me, I wouldn't put my car note because I would actually just call my car company and say, hey, I can't pay my car note for the next couple of months because I don't need my car because I work remotely. But if you use your car every single day, then you want to make sure your car note is inside your essential budget. And so if you think about it from that aspect, because I know sometimes when people are like saving 3 months, like, you know how much money that is? Yeah, it's a lot of money when you have shopping and stuff in there. But when you actually think about your bills, also in my budget, I have childcare. But if I didn't have a job, then I wouldn't be paying childcare. So that childcare is not included in my essential budget because I'm literally thinking about if I did not have a job, what would I need to make sure I had to get paid? That's the best way to think about it and calculate that. For a lot of people, you'll realize that number is fairly low. So 3 months is honestly not a lot for most people, depending on if your bills are like, if your mortgage is $3,500, then that's a little different. And then your sinking fund. So for those of you who don't know, a sinking fund is basically a savings account where it's an intentional or proactive savings account. The money there is not intended to be never spent. It's eventually going to be spent in some kind of way. So ideas for some sinking funds that you might have: a travel fund. We all love to like live our best lives and be out here traveling, right? So a travel fund. If you have kids, like I have one for like both of my kids, I'm saving one back to school shopping, and another one I'm getting the front facing car seat, and that's going to cost me about $500. So instead of messing up my budget and thinking about it when I get paid, I save for it. And so when the time comes, boom, it's almost like I just paid myself. Like I just got some extra money. Like that's just what it is. Christmas is a really good one, right? So if you think about how much you want to spend on Christmas and just in January, start putting that money aside. By the time Christmas comes, you won't have to go into debt. That's why I like sinking funds, because they are a preventative action that allows you to not have to go into debt in order to spend. Because a lot of times we be out there traveling and we swiping them credit cards. We swiping them credit cards, or we doing them installment. That Klarna, that Afterpay, sis, all that is debt.
This is a testimony. Listen. Because I am quick with it and I am not ashamed, because listen, if I don't want to spend it, and then who's to say, I hate when people say, oh, you're using Klarna or Afterpay or anything like that, you shouldn't be buying it. First of all, okay, like you may not want to, you might have it and you may not just want to spend it all on that at that moment. Like that's what these things are for. Now, I'm not going to say everybody that uses these things, has the money right then and there, or even has it to spend. but it's just like, don't count people pockets. Like,
don't
if folks want to do it, because don't count mine, baby. I am folks, okay? I will use a car note I have to pay in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat,
and I don't count.
Yeah. And I just say, what I tell people is be careful, because that stuff ends up adding up. I remember when I was using like faithfully, and I was like, oh, $20 here, $50. Then it was like $1,000.
Yeah, but when you got 4 at one time, it's like, dang, you could have just bought it, right? And then, but one thing about those things too, and I don't know if people notice, like, it's almost essentially a loan. I'm not even gonna say almost. It is. Like, if you look at, they give you spending power. So it's, you have to be responsible with these things. It ain't free, right? Because there ain't nothing in this world free. So you have to be conscious of those things. And, all of that plays a factor when you're talking credit and all of that. So, people, please be careful. And this is coming from somebody that uses it faithfully.
Yeah.
But it's essentially like a credit card.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. It's just interest free for right now. And then if you can't afford it, then then it has all these fees and stuff associated.
And that's only if you're doing the 4 installments, because they do actually have them to where you can split it 6 or more months.
Oh, wow.
But it comes with interest.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't even know that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's why I say, it's like, this stuff is, look cute, when you first see it, but it's like deeper than what they really try to put it out there to be. So please be careful.
Be careful. And I tell people, like, I don't count people's pockets, and I just say, if there's something that you want, sleep on it, and if you still want it the next day, then buy it, right? Because sometimes we have to practice delayed gratification, just because it's like, especially with social media is so subconsciously triggering that, like, one time, like, girl, I was on social media thinking about buying like the craziest thing that I had never even, but because I saw it on social media, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, let me go buy this thing. And then I'm like,
toxic. Oh, okay. It's toxic. Like, we're all in competition. Gotta have the new stuff. And like, one thing you said, like, when I'm thinking about like splitting paychecks, right? And one thing you said, like, your bills shouldn't be that high or really aren't that high, right? So if your bills are high, like, there is a such thing as living beyond your means.
Mm-hmm.
Because you make more money doesn't mean you have to spend more money. Like, I rent, I don't own, I can pay, but why would I want to pay? And I am now, I'm not gonna lie, like, my rent is up there. I don't believe rent over $3,000 though, so it ain't that high. But I have seen some craziness in Atlanta with these rental properties, and it's just like, okay, even if you have it, it's like you probably shouldn't spend it, because then you have more money to save, right?
Exactly.
You have more money to allocate to a sinking fund, an emergency fund, because a lot of times I'm not the biggest like saver, because sometimes I'll just be like, you get money to spend it, like. That's part of my philosophy. Like, do I think you should have, a little bit of something, because you never know what could go wrong or what have you. I've lost my job before, which I'm sure many of us have now with the pandemic. So it is smart to do it, but it's just like, you can save a whole lot more if you're not putting a whole lot out there.
Exactly.
And with your bills, because those are things, like you said, your bills are things that you have to pay. You have to do that. And one thing about me, like, even though I don't have as many accounts as you do, which I'm about to sit down, write my stuff out. I am one of the, like, I am not going to luxury spend or whatever until my bills are paid. And a lot of times people, they want to get stuff and your bills ain't paid. And then you get to it and you're like, ooh, I probably shouldn't have bought whatever, because I'm a little short. Yeah, I mean, I've been there before too, you know what I'm saying? And like, now I grew from that and trying to understand money better and all of that. But it's just like, pay your bills first. Even if you're listening to this and you're not going to sit there and, create these different accounts or whatever, pay your bills first. And then, the extra money, I ain't finna tell you what to do with it, but it's just like, be responsible. That's one thing. It's like, we got to be more responsible with our money so that we can live this rich life.
Exactly. And that's just what it is. And I, like, honestly, and I love the fact that you named the saving thing, because once my account gets to a certain number, like I'm not even. It's time for investing, because you're losing money anyways by just continuously saving it. I just need enough money in there in case anything happens. I'm good. But
Right.
other than that, I'm gonna stop saving in an emergency fund, and I'm transitioning over into investing. I will always save for big things, just because what I always found myself doing is when big things happened, I was swiping a credit card or I was taking out a loan, and I'm trying to avoid accumulating more
Doing
debt.
that.
Like that's definitely how to get out of debt is to stop accumulating more debt. Because if you accumulate more, you're never gonna get out. So, and I really am trying to live a debt-free life. And the key to it all is, after all that's done, is automate. So automate as much as possible. If you're a person who you're like, if you see the money come in your bank account when you get paid, and you you have to pay your bills, but you don't have the discipline, then automate. So that way you don't even have to worry about it. And that's how, honestly, like that's what I have to do for myself. Because if I was just like, I work hard and I want to buy
I deserve this.
Exactly. I deserve,
Yeah.
and so
but I'm glad you brought up the automation. I've started doing that too, because I was one of those people who were afraid to automate. I'm like, what if I don't have the money when it's time, right? And so one thing I do want to point out is a lot of these bills, you can set the date. They don't tell you that.
Yeah.
You can set the date that they take it out of your account. So if you know you get paid the 15th and the 30th of every month, maybe you should set those bills up to come out on the 15th or the 16th, whatever, after your pay date, so that that the money is there. I mean, your paychecks 9 times out of 10, they ain't gonna miss. Now, I ain't gonna lie, I have had times where my check ain't coming, I done had to call HR, like, hey, do I still work here? Like, what's going on? But 9 times out of 10, like that's like human error. That probably ain't gonna happen too much,
Yes.
And but you can do that. Like, I was looking at my car note, thinking about switching the date, because it comes before. It's like that, that weird point between your paychecks. And it's like, okay, what's you're like 2-3 days away from getting paid, right? And all of a sudden you ain't got no money, right? It's like, dang, y'all know I'm gonna get paid. Like,
yeah.
But I was like, you know what? Maybe I need to switch this, because it ain't mathing. It ain't
given.
You know what I'm saying? But you can do that. Call the companies, even if you've never heard them say that. Like, call them and ask, like, hey, is this possible? Can I change my car note due date? Can I change my insurance date to whatever? And they probably can do it.
Yeah.
So
I've done that, and because it makes it easier if you set up your bills around when you get paid. So that way, and then what you do is you just calculate, right? So tomorrow I get paid. Earlier today, I sat down and I wrote down all the bills that are gonna occur between tomorrow and next Thursday, since I get paid every Friday. And that number, when I get paid tomorrow, I will therefore manually, since I can't set it up through my HR, I'll manually transfer that amount into my bills account. And then that money's in there. My savings transfers are automatically, they come out before I even see it. So that way, that's how I need to do to make sure that I'm saving. And then it's always exciting to go look at my savings account and just see money built up, and I didn't even have to like physically do anything.
Exactly.
And then the money that's left in my luxury account, I know is free game. It's free for me to spend, and I
not
have
feel
to
bad about it.
Exactly, and not feel bad. Like, if I want to go and buy me the new pair of Yeezys that I always want to buy, Jayla, can you get her for me, please? That I am able to do that, no problem, and be cool and know my bills are paid, because that was a big thing from before that I wasn't able to do, because of the fact that I was trying to spend all my money and then trying to see what I had left over for bills, to the point where I was wondering if the sheriff was going to come knocking on my door if I was about to get evicted, because I was really like, dang, I ain't got no money left.
But you know what? We got to have these conversations. Like, some people are afraid we get afraid to talk about money. We get afraid to, talk about saving and all of that stuff, like having more transparent and open conversation, because you're not the only person that's going through it. Like, we've all been there, might be going through it now, whatever your situation is, but it's like sharing these moments and sharing advice on how to get out of these situations, because you can definitely get out of them. It's just, you got to be disciplined. I know we talked about this on the first episode, and y'all really need to go back and listen to that, because it was really good. But, discipline.
And create a plan.
You got to cut yourself off and build a plan. Exactly. And stick to it until you feel like you don't need to stick to it no more, whatever the case may be, or you need to switch it up. But, I've been there before, trying to pay off debt. I've paid off cards. I've gotten back into debt. I've taken out investment money. Probably done almost everything except for be rich. So,
You said done everything but be rich. It's coming though. It's coming.
Right. I'm manifesting it. But but it starts here, building a plan and really just sticking to it. So, I appreciate you coming on and just explaining the different ways on how we can split our paychecks. And y'all literally know, your paycheck don't have to be a certain amount for you to save.
Exactly.
Or, split it up. However, I think I made way more money now than what I did before. And I was splitting checks, like you say, have HR send it to one account and then another account, because I had a credit union. But they pissed me off, so I had to cut them off. But I just need to I'm about to get another one. But it's just you can do it. I was making, when I was doing it, and I'll be transparent with y'all, when I was splitting my checks, I was making $35,000 a year. And let me tell y'all, that is nothing after taxes. It's nothing when you say $35,000 a year. But when you see that check, my first job out of college, I made $28,000 a year. Yeah. That was $800 a check, y'all. My rent was $800.
That was disrespectful, because you had a college degree. That's number one.
And I went into education.
Disrespectful.
But it's it can be done.
It can.
But I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't traveling. You know what I'm saying? Making those sacrifices. And sometimes you do have to make those sacrifices to get to where you want to be in the long run.
Yeah, and you just have to start. Right? So for example, this year, my goal is to save $5,000. And I did the math, and that comes to $65 a paycheck. And automatically every time it's exactly, right? So we get caught up.
You getting paid every Friday. So
I get paid every Friday. Yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, and you break it down and make it reasonable. The thing that why people are I can't budget, is because their budget is unrealistic. You're trying to say $20,000, sis.
Right.
It sounds good, and eventually you'll get to a point where you're able to do that. But even if it's $50, even if it's 50, even if it's 20, whatever that number is, because the thing is you want to practice the habit, because the thing that most people have messed up is they think that when they make more money, then they'll be able to all of a sudden have all these healthy financial habits. No, you're going to take those same poor habits with you when you're making millions, and you're going to look around and be like, where's my money? Have you ever been in a position when I thought to myself, long time ago, probably before what started my journey, was, how am I making 3 times the amount of money that I was making when I was in college, yet I still can't live?
Exactly.
And the reason was because of my habits. That's all it was. It wasn't because I didn't make enough money. It was literally because my habits, and I was living above my means. So I had to stop and pause. Right. And now that I've significantly increased my money, but kept my bills the same, I feel like I'm a millionaire. Honestly, and I'm not. You know what I'm saying? I'm not. But it just feels like that because I've learned to live within my means, and I've increased my income, and I can travel. I can pay off debt. There's flexibility and there's freedom now that I didn't have before.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I want us to get there, and we all gonna get there. And I love platforms like this because also we can do it as moms, right? We can do this as moms, and we all know that women are moms, or women are the backbone of the household. You know what I'm saying? So if we get our money together, that is literally going to change whether you're a single mom or you're married or whatever your situation may be. Like, it's going to change your family's life because
absolutely,
we're the backbones of the household. So
yeah. Well, ain't nothing else to say after that. Look, well, I appreciate you for coming back on and spreading these gems with the ladies. So, you know, as I always say, ladies, stay bossy and stay motivated. And I will see you ladies next time. Thanks again for coming on. Hey, ladies, if you enjoyed today's episode, do me a favor and leave a 5-star rating and review. You can find the Boss Mom Movement streaming on Apple and Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube. Want to keep up with the movement? Visit my website at thebossmommovement.com and subscribe. Thanks for the support, and I'll see you next time.